Hearing loss is a growing problem in our noisy world. More than 32 million Americans suffer with hearing loss, but studies show that only 1 in 5 are currently seeking a solution. That means most people suffer in silence. Research shows that hearing loss can have a profound effect on quality of life. Joining us today to talk about that problem and some solutions is Dr. Dennis Colucci, a doctor of audiology. Welcome to the show.
Well,
nice to have you.
Nice to see you.
You have a personal story. Very briefly, tell us about your own story with this issue.
Well, the reason why I got into audiology to begin with is as a child I had problems with middle ear fluid, as many children do. The difficulty with having recurrent issues with middle ear fluid from the ages of 1 through 3, 4, or 5 is that you really don't develop phonetic analysis correctly. So you have difficulty with understanding words as well as processing words. So in background noise, for example, it was always very difficult for me to hear and understand, even though I had normal hearing. But what had changed is that when I was a child, this inability to learn phonetics caused all of these difficulties.
Socially speaking, what does that do to a child?
Well, in a child's position, the difficulties appear to be learning related, and the inability to communicate properly with family and friends causes, difficulty with arguments and misinterpretation.
One of my friends was born completely hearing impaired and was misdiagnosed as being mentally retarded. Tell me a little bit about the misdiagnosis of this and if that's still a problem.
Well, the misdiagnosis of hearing loss comes because the characteristics of a hearing loss that somebody may present appear to be as if they're not paying attention, they're not engaged, they may even appear to be mentally impaired. And that causes considerable difficulty when you think about trying to place somebody into society.
So, solutions. What do we do about it?
Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to first identify hearing loss. That's why the newborn hearing screening laws have been passed. And within the first 30 days after birth, we have equipment that can actually measure hearing.
This is a brainwave meter, right? They measure brainwaves when they
Well,
send in signals?
there's two ways to do that. There's one called otoacoustic emissions, and that's where we actually use a piece of equipment that can measure the tiny hair cells inside the inner ear. That's one type. The other type is called auditory brainstem evoked potentials. And in that case, what we do, we actually do measure the brain waves. We put a signal in the ear, we increase and decrease the intensity, and we're actually able to construct somewhat of a graph of that child's hearing. If we find hearing loss, of course, there's follow-up to that, hearing instruments and cochlear implants. By the way, we're fortunate that these days cochlear implants are so successful that we can actually end up mainstreaming many of the children that were previously considered in the deaf community. We can actually move them into the mainstream again, which is a remarkable feat of magic, first invented by the House Ear Institute in Los Angeles.
Oh, and Dr. House was the guy
Howard House,
who
right.
helped
Howard and Bill House.
He helped Alan Shepard.
Correct.
The astronaut.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
These are great guys.
Yeah.
Although Howard,
and they've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, Howard is no longer with us, but certainly John House, who is now the heir to the throne of the House Ear Institute, and Dr. Brackman and Dr. Friedman and some of the great physicians of our time actually are at that clinic, including Jennifer Durberry and a number of them who have been the past presidents of the American Academy of Otolaryngology. So we're very blessed to have them in our state.
Otolaryngology, that's the word of the day, isn't it?
That's a big word.
Dr. Dennis Colucci, thanks for joining us. By the way, how did it turn out for you and your own hearing loss?
Well, it actually turned out good after I struggled through trying to learn how to read again. I actually couldn't even read out loud well until I was in around 11th grade. I had stage fright, couldn't even talk in front of people.
But now you're helping everybody else.
And now I'm doing everybody else. That's it.
Thanks, Dr. Colucci. We appreciate your time.
When you think health, think IRU.